Hey, what's up, fam? This is Dannielle Johnson with Donut Socialite, bringing you yet another piece of content to help you get your shit together. On today's episode of Donuts, Coffee, and Tech, we'll be talking about the need to keep up with social media content. Plus, I'm going to be dropping some gems with some strategies to help you stay on top of your social media content marketing game. You do not want to miss today's episode. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned, stay tapped in, stay turned on, and make sure you subscribe to Donuts, Coffee, and Tech everywhere that you subscribe to podcasts. Hey, what's up, fam? This is Dannielle Johnson of Donut Socialite, bringing you yet another piece of content to help you get your shit together. Today on Donuts, Coffee, and Tech, we're going to be talking about keeping up with the need of content, and also I'll be sharing with you 5 tools that are going to help you get your shit together when it comes to content creation. You do not want to miss this episode. Do not go anywhere. It's going to be a good one. Stay tuned. Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of Donuts, Coffee, and Tech. I am your host, Dannielle Johnson, aka the Dannielle J on Instagram, aka the Donut Socialite, aka that chick from Denver that's doing things in LA now, aka your friend that does digital marketing. And today we're going to be talking about the need to keep up with content on social media, but more importantly, how the hell can we make that happen, especially since we have so many different things going on in our lives, right? So I want to first tackle the strategy that we can use to get better at attacking all this content that is expected of us. And then I'm going to go into 5 tools that help you keep up with the need of content. Okay, so first things first, I really wanted to talk about this subject today because there has been just this influx of content on all platforms, whether it's blog posts, Instagram pages, Facebook posts, LinkedIn, whatever, that indicates that you're supposed to be bombarding all social media platforms with a ton of content. And it feels so gross to me. Like, I've seen it, I've participated in it, I've even told people this along my journey of doing social media. Like, you have to make sure that you're constantly posting. You got to be putting stuff up every single day, otherwise nobody's going to be able to know that you're there and that you exist, blah 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 blah, right? But I kind of want to go against the grain with that idea because there's a couple of pieces that people are not talking about when they're saying these things, right? So number one, the thing that I came to understand about creating a lot of content is that it has to be through this lens of creating value, creating content that actually serves a purpose, whether that's to sell your services or products, or it's to create culture around your brand, or it's, whatever it is, or it could be whatever, right? So that has to first be in place. This change in perception of why you're going to be providing this content, right? But furthermore, knowing why you're providing content and getting the actual energy to provide that content are 2 very different things, right? So for instance, I had always been known for putting up quote graphics and pictures of myself, really cool captions that talk about like my experiences, the lessons that I've learned, all of those jazzy things. But I didn't really put together a content strategy so that I can create longevity behind my content. And that's where I was missing the boat before. But the other part of it was I really didn't have the energy to do all of what everybody has been saying to do on social media, which is post every single day, make sure that you're doing stories at least 5 or 6 times a day. Some people are even quoting like 10 to 15 times a day. I mean, there's just all these different numbers out there as to like what works best for your engagement rates and everything else on social media. But I just did not have the energy to do that shit. Like, it was just so much work to me, and I would just cringe at the idea of having to create all of this freaking content. And made me feel some type of way that I'm a person that does social media and doing social media is what's making me cringe, right? So I took a step back, well, I took a sidestep and realized that there are so many different ways of approaching content creation, right? So I talked to some of the content creation queens that I know, and I asked them all these questions about, like, how are you planning out your content? What are you using so that you can actually be able to put all this content out, right? Like, how many pictures are you taking of yourself? Like, where are you getting your stock images? Like, I'm asking all these different questions because I'm like, there has to be a simpler way of doing this, or there has to be a mindset that I'm just not gravitating to. So, through all these different conversations, basically interviews of all the people that I know that are like content creation kings and queens, I figured out what it was, right? I wasn't looking at content in a way that was organic to my already being on social media, right? So I wasn't doing content the way that would make it enjoyable for me to keep doing it. So that's why I couldn't figure out a motivation to continue to do social media to the expectation of everybody who was saying that social media needs to be this way or that way or whatever. So now, after talking to all these different people and seeing kind of like how they do their thing, I've found out that yes, it is ideal to be able to post 5 and 6 posts in your stories or post 3 times a day on your regular Instagram page so that you can get all this engagement, so on and so forth. But you got to do what works for you. There is no one size fit all strategy for everybody that works exactly the same, because let's say that you have a 9 to 5, you got 3 kids, and you're married. You may not have the time to really go in and do all of this content creation the way that somebody who's doing this full time does, right? So you have to figure out what formula really works for you. And what I'm learning here recently is the formula that works best for me is batching content, but doing it in a very intentional way so that I can talk about things here on this podcast that also trickle into the content that I'm going to be posting on my stories. That's going to also trickle over into Facebook and my Facebook live trainings, etc., etc. So, I mean, there's just so many different ways to go about it. And I talk to people about this same aspect all the time because, again, it's not a one size fit all model. It really is what's going to work for you. I just talked to a guy the other day, and he's talking about how overwhelming it is and how he doesn't really feel compelled to post every day, how he feels that his audience isn't even on Instagram. And I asked him, I said, well, does your audience use Google? And he's like, yeah, they Google everything, right? And I'm like, well, think about it this way. When you use Instagram consistently, you're feeding content into your search engine optimization plan, which is going to show up on Google where the people that you want to have buy from you exist. So if you figure out which way Instagram really feeds into your bigger machine, then you can figure out a way to implement it and include it into your existing strategies as opposed to treating it like a redhead stepchild and trying to do it as a one-off solo independent idea, right? That's one way. But again, there's no one size fits all. So if that one strategy doesn't resonate with what you offer or the people that you're trying to go after, then figure out how Instagram actually plays into other parts of the business or what you're trying to achieve through posting on Instagram, right? So there's so many different ways to skin this cat, and I don't mean to say that to offend anybody because I know folks don't really like that term, but there's so many different ways to cut up this apple, and I think that we're getting so consumed by how certain people are doing it. Like Gary Vee has a team of people that is helping him create all that content so that they can chop it up and put it up all the time, right? There's so many of these thought leaders who have teams behind them, or they have a background in design, or they might have a background in web development or something like that, or they might have a software that helps them. whatever the case may be, everybody's way of doing this thing is not going to look exactly the same. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 tools that's going to help you keep up with the need of content no matter what strategy you're using. These 5 tools have been a big help to my recent understanding of how to gather content. And I think I'm going to dedicate some time on the next podcast to talk about my strategy for content batching. Let me know if you're interested in that in the comments. Shoot me a message, and I'll consider putting that on one of the future episodes of the podcast, just so that you can have a reference point for how I'm going about batching my content, because it's a little bit different than all of the people who were giving me suggestions. It's a little bit more in detail. But anyway, these 5 tools are going to help you. So let's get right into it. Okay, so with this list of 5, I'm going to go from non-digital to digital, right? So first things first, a notepad and pen are going to be absolutely essential to your content planning. The reason why you need a notepad and pen is so that you can write out content ideas, right? You got to write out what you see coming up, whether it's holidays or sales within your company, or maybe even announcements that you want to make with your brand. So write out all those things with the notepad and pen. The reason why I say to write it out is because sometimes when we're typing things out, we don't necessarily get complete inspiration from just typing at a keyboard. Notepad and pen will allow you to write stuff down and get all of the energy out of the brain through the hand onto the paper. And I know some people are like, "Ooh, that's really woo-woo of you." So what? It's definitely one of the most essential pieces of keeping up with content, being able to brainstorm and do brain dumps so that you can see what's already happening around you. So if there's people that are constantly posting in your sector, you can write down some of the things that you've seen, that you've been inspired by, that you kind of want to have 2 cents on. Other part is knowing your deadlines and things that are coming up in your business, releases, etc., but also so that you can get some emotion behind it through writing, right? The second thing is a physical calendar. You want to make sure that you have a calendar in front of you. That way you can plan how much content you want to put out in any given time. Whether you're planning for a month, a couple of weeks, whatever works best for your schedule. You want to have a physical calendar in front of you. That way you can see what's coming up. Okay, you have 4 weeks left in this month, or this upcoming month is 4 weeks. So you want to make sure that you're planning 4 weeks worth of content. So you want to have that physical calendar in front of you. I use a paper calendar because I just love paper calendars, right? Having that huge calendar that you see at people's offices. But you can do it with a digital calendar on your computer or on your phone, respectively. The next tool is going to be Canva. And I know there's been this huge influx of people talking about how great Canva is. I am on the Canva bandwagon. I think that if you do not know how to use Canva, you have to figure this thing out, because it is the non-designer's design platform. It allows you to create beautiful imagery without having to know how to do graphic design. As somebody who does graphic design as a side hustle, Canva has helped me be able to integrate some of those technical skills that I can do through the Adobe suite and integrate them on Canva so that I can have this unique experience. I can turn over a lot of content through Canva because it's so simplistic in nature. Also, there are 1,000 templates on this thing. Over 1,000, but thousands of templates on this thing that help you get the creative juices flowing. So you can start out with a template and kind of add your own jazz to it, which I highly recommend. Or you just keep the template as is because you're, getting into this content creation mode. And sometimes you just don't really know how to tap into the creativity just yet. So using templates and just keep them as is sometimes helps you create better content down the line, because you're able to just see where you came from and see where you want to go, right? Another really great tool is Pexels. 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 It's a website that is for stock images. I absolutely love Pexels because there are new people signing up for pixels as photographers almost every day. So you're going to get a whole bunch of fresh stock images that you can use in your content creation strategy. There's just so many pictures out there that already exist surrounding some of the stock imagery that you want to have in your branding. Look it up. Pexels is amazing. They have all kinds of different people, backgrounds, places. I mean, just you name it. I found so many pictures of donuts on there, which, I'm very happy about that. But last but not least, you want to make sure that you're using Google Docs. Write out your captions. And what I do is on Google Docs, I create a grid that looks like my Instagram top 9, right? So you have 9 squares in your grid, and then I write out the captions for the content, how it's going to be placed on my page. That way it can make sense. That way it can all be cohesive. And then that way when I pick the pictures and I do all of the other work with Pexels and Canva, I can see exactly how everything's going to play together. And it also allows me to put my hashtags in there so I can just copy and paste from my Google Docs into my Instagram post when I'm ready, right? So there's that. So everything that I'm talking about right now is Instagram heavy, but you can definitely use all of this for Facebook, for LinkedIn, for whatever platform you're using to market yourself on, because you're going to be able to see everything kind of laid out, real editorial style, almost like you're working at a magazine or something, right? But these 5 tools are going to help you get your shit together with creating more content, because you're going to create a system and process for creating content as opposed to just trying to create things on the fly all the time. Creating things on the fly is great as well. You want to have some content that's super organic and come from a space of, oh wow, this is happening right now and it's so exciting, yada yada yada. But you also want to have this pre-planned content that's going to help you convey the overall theme and message of your brand and how you can solve problems for your ideal client. Hey, listen, keeping up with content can be super daunting. I understand all too well the pressures of having to keep posting content on a regular basis, but do not stress. Do not fret, my pet. There are so many different avenues that you can go when it comes to creating content. Just understand that you have to go about it in a way that's the most organic to the way that you want to appear online. If you're going about it with the wrong mindset, you're more than likely going to give up before you get to that sweet spot of repetition, knowing what to post, knowing how to post it, knowing what to say. And it takes practice, lots and lots of practice. So don't beat yourself up about this. And if you still have questions, drop them in the comments. Hit me up on Instagram at the Dannielle J. Follow and comment on the post that I have on there. I'm here to be a resource, a tool, an asset for you to get better at posting on social media. So please just utilize me so that I can help you get to your goals. If you're still having problems with figuring out what to post, that's perfectly fine. We all go through it. Hit me up on Instagram at the Dannielle J. I'll be more than happy to help you get through it, because I literally just got through the thick of it, and I have all of this great information that I can share with you there. If we're not connected on Instagram, do that. If you haven't already subscribed and liked this video on YouTube, make sure you do that. Follow the podcast, Donuts, Coffee, and Tech, everywhere that you can get podcasts, and be on the lookout for our next episode happening next Friday. Stay tuned. I can't wait to see you there. I'll holla at you later. Peace.